welcome to all of our guests. We do have a packed evening tonight. Two parts. We'll first discuss the Nail Pro Magazine diversity issue that Catalina has raised, and then in the second half, we'd love to share with our viewers the lawsuit that was filed by the PBFC, and we have Fred Jones, their legal counsel, with us tonight to give some insights as to what's going to happen next. So, welcome everybody. How are you all this evening?
Great.
Awesome.
Woo-hoo!
All right.
Welcome Fred John back, and then Jim back, and also welcome Katalina tonight with the show with us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. PhD. Welcome back, and always a pleasure to have you on. So let me dive right into it, folks, because this issue surfaced about a week and a half ago or so. I was browsing through Facebook, saw something about our colleagues over at Outgrowth resigning because of some issue with Nail Pro Magazine, and we did some homework, some investigative work, and trying to figure out what the heck is going on, and can we talk to folks who may be able to shed some insights as to what they know or don't know. And so first, let me frame the issue so our viewers know exactly where I'm going with this. Right. There was a Facebook posting that I saw. Our colleagues say that they were resigning from Nail Pro Magazine on their expert advisory board. And I looked at the advisory board. It looked like any other advisory board, in my opinion, but I didn't look closely at what the issue was. And this is where I want to turn it over to Katalina, since you are the person who spotted this issue. Would you be so kind of share with our viewers what you saw and kind of what actions you took in response to it?
Sure. Yeah. So I first want to point out that I probably wasn't the first person to see the issue that was there. In fact, I know I wasn't the first person, and I'll get to that later. But I saw the issue last Sunday night, and I was immediately pretty upset, angry, disappointed, whatever. And then I decided to share the advisory board the next day on Monday. And that's kind of when this all started. I made an Instagram post with a screenshot of the advisory board and just called out their conflict, because last June, when all the BLM marches were happening, they were called out for a lack of diversity and said that they were committed to changing. And then this advisory board came out 6 months later and just really conflicted with the statement that they made before. And so that's why I posted about it.
Right. So for our viewers who have not seen that post, I just want to make sure they're interested. So there are, give or take, I think, 10 to 15 advisory board members on there. And while it is composed of both male and females, if I recall correctly, for the most part, they were all Caucasian, no minorities. Is that right, Catalina?
They're all white passing. I found out afterwards that one of the board members, Paula, I believe she's Mexican, but they all are white passing. There's not a single Black person, not a single Asian person, nothing else really outside of that realm.
Sure. And so for our viewers who aren't Vietnamese, we have a lot of non-Vietnamese viewers. We know that in the professional nail industry, there's a very high percentage of nail professionals who are of Vietnamese American background, right? Nail technicians, salon owners. And that's just not here in California, but nationwide. I know that here in California, it's even a higher percentage, roughly 70 to 75%, if I'm not mistaken, of nail professionals. So the fact that, I guess, Nail Pro Magazine had this list of expert advisors who were at least non-Vietnamese, let's put it that way, probably startled you. I mean, it definitely startled me when I saw it, thinking, wait a minute, how is it that one segment of the industry, the professional nail industry, is comprised of so many Vietnamese Americans, and yet there's not one? And so when you reached out to Nail Pro Magazine, Catalina, did you get a response from them as to the issue that you spotted?
I did. I got a message from Steph Lavery, the editor at Nail Pro, and she immediately just said, like, yeah, you're right. We realized that we messed up. Sorry, more or less. I don't think she apologized, but it was more or less along those lines. And so I responded, and I shared my response, and I said, this isn't enough. I think there are a lot of steps that Nail Pro needs to change or take to make change. You can't really change what you did in the past, but you really need to make steps to improve in the future. I gave her a list of things that I thought she should do. The first one was to amend the advisory board and make that public, and make it more diverse. And I stated that, you know, the nail industry is very diverse, at least 70% minority. I also said that I think she needs anti-racism training, not just for the staff at Nail Pro, but for anyone on the board. And then I also said that she should use the relationships that she has with these brands to help create work opportunities, educational opportunities. Like, she has the chance and the power to really change the way this narrative goes in the future. And so that was my whole goal, is just to point this out and get the conversation going.
We're not here to ding the magazine. That is not my objective here. Right? We just want to have that conversation. And so honored to have Jim, because I know, Jim, are you at liberty to share how were you approached to become an advisory board member, and any information that was shared with you before you agreed as to the makeup of that board?
Stephanie wrote me an email, asked me if I'd be a part of the board in order to help answer questions and write, periodical articles. Periodic articles about things like curing lamps or chemistry or allergies or other issues that concern the industry that kind of fall within my forte. And I said I'd be more than happy to. I had really zero or very limited access to any information on who else was going to be on the board. I was just honored that they asked me to help contribute in my areas of expertise. So that was kind of it. I was surprised when I saw the picture of everybody that was on the board. It was glaring that everybody kind of looked a lot like me, some with longer hair, some without hair, some with beards. But for the most part, I think it could have certainly been a little bit more diverse. Stephanie did reach out and she said, do you know anybody that would be willing to contribute? And so I gave her a list of names. Tong Vu was certainly on the list, and Fawn Malone would be on the list. And then obviously Kelvin would be on the list, as well as a few other people that are educators or brand ambassadors for us that don't look anything like me. So,
and go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. So that's that's what the approach was, and I sent that information off to her.
So as of now, are you aware if Nail Pro magazine has selected some additional board members who are more of a diverse makeup?
I'm not sure. They haven't communicated with me since I sent the information off, which isn't a big surprise because I know that they were, I'd say, staggered by how the board was finalized, I suppose, to be the best way to put it. When you look at the individuals, they're all quality individuals, and they're all very professional in their own right and have their areas of expertise. But when you assemble the whole list, when you assemble all those faces and those people on one placard, it is glaring.
Did you have critiques of certain individuals, not so much but just based upon their racial background, but were there other people who you thought that maybe qualified, not qualified, or just didn't seem like they would be a right fit for quote unquote expert advisor position?
To be honest, there were most of the board members I didn't know. I knew a handful of them, but I didn't know all of them. And so it wasn't until after I made that post that people reached out to me and said, like, hey, so-and-so isn't exactly known for being a diverse brand. Maybe that's part of the problem. I didn't know that before I made that post. And so since then, I've learned a lot about a lot of those board members. And I think that certainly has influence as to why this board isn't diverse in the first place.
Mr. PhD, I know you've been sitting quietly listening attentively to what's been shared. As a salon owner, right? And I know you have a very big salon and a lot of manicurists, a lot of them that work with you are Vietnamese American. I mean, when you hear that, an industry leading magazine like Nail Pro magazine, assembled a board and wasn't as diverse as what we thought we would have hoped from the start. and no Vietnamese Americans. I mean, what are your thoughts and feelings on that?
For me, I think because of the Vietnamese community nail industry is, not a lot of people to do educate like us right now. We try to reach out all of the people around. That's why, whenever the pro nail they asking for a director or a board person or something like that, and there be not a whole lot of the Vietnamese know about it. For example, right now, like at the board of barbering and cosmetology, they're asking for a manicurist for do some of the work like right there. But when I asking all of my people I know, they don't know it. The problem is they, seldom they get into the BBC, so they don't know what's going on. That is my thought.
Let me ask you this. You bring up a good point, PhD. Your workers don't know, but let's take a hypothetical. Assuming your workers did know, do you believe that many of your workers would get involved in positions working with the BBC or being involved in something like a expert advisory board like the Nail Pro magazine has? I mean, are they the type of individuals that would participate?
Be honest with you and all of the audience, most of my manicurists is, like a little over 35 or 40 and older. So I don't think they are thinking about to participate in that, probably because the English is the second language for them. So maybe that is a problem for all of the Vietnamese industry, nail industry.
I think traditionally, or historically, I should say, the Vietnamese American segment of the industry has been quite passive, right? I mean, they're good at what they do. They do nails, they pay their bills, they take care of their families, but they don't participate so much, not just in terms of, government offices, but even in other forums. There's not much participation.
Leaving aside what nail pros did or didn't do, I can just tell you from 20 years of trying to get Vietnamese folks involved in government, it has been a challenge. Other minority groups, not a challenge. But the Vietnamese community, it's a tough egg to crack, to be totally candid.
Is there a disparity and a disconnect between essentially two generations of nail professionals? One that I'll characterize and classify as those maybe mid-30s, 40 and up, and then those that are in the younger group, right? So what we may be seeing is that those in the older group are not as active, participating, and even if they were approached by, let's say those who are qualified, even if they were approached by Nail Pro magazine to become an expert advisor, would not have even raised their hand and said, I'd love to do it. And then you have the younger group who is probably more active. And if they were approached, they probably would say, yes, I'd agree to, but maybe reluctant for one reason or another. Is that disparity between the two groups, is that a challenge to get our nail industry more connected, not just in terms of nail professionals working together, but nail professionals working with government, working with magazines like Nail Pro magazines, and just getting that involvement that we need so that they're learning more, they're becoming educated, and they're really contributing to their industry?
I think that obviously you have the older people that may have the language barrier. I do know that whenever I go past any one of the salons that happen to be in our town, there's a few that are always open early in the morning, and there's a few that are always open late at night. And you know who's running those salons. Almost every one of them is run by Vietnamese people. And they are hardworking, they do very great work. And I'm not sure if it's a time commitment to the salon, providing for the family, doing their job, maybe trying to keep their head down, as opposed to contributing and looking forward to the importance of communicating to the community and the industry on the value of what it is they do know and what they can do to help. Maybe that younger generation is able to do that. I do know that I reached out to a few people that are African American, and they were elated to be on the board. So whether Nail Pro's falling through with that, I hope that they are, but they were elated and they're happy to jump on. And there were two people that are in that late 20s, early 30s age range.
I think that it's two parts. I think that from the beginning, these brands and magazines should be directly reaching out to the Vietnamese community. Whether they did that or not with Nail Pro, I don't know. But if the seat at the table wasn't extended to begin with, then why would a Vietnamese person be there? But I also think that it's very important to have a Vietnamese person, at least one person on the board, if not more, even if they do have an English, if English is a second language, because there's no way these advisory boards are going to be able to reach out to the Vietnamese community if they don't have someone on the board that represents that community. I think it's super important. And I struggle to believe that any young person would turn down the opportunity to have that kind of exposure. Older people, I don't know, but I think that any young manicurist is always looking for that kind of exposure, for those kinds of connections, for that kind of work. And so I think I don't know, I struggle to believe that it's that hard to find a young Vietnamese person to be on the board.
You know, the big thing now, we were here in California under the regional lockdowns, early December, let's put it that way. It was a mess. It was hard. Salon owners, technicians were all suffering. And then you and I have had some conversations privately, you know, hey, is anything going to happen? And yeah, it's all lawsuit. So could you tell us a little bit about the lawsuit and give it in layman's term? Because I know a lot of our viewers are not legal professionals, so you might lose them. Give it to them in basic terms so they understand why did you file a lawsuit? Because we know PBFC filed a lawsuit back in May, right? So all yours.
The first theme is Governor Newsom has lied to us when he says he has followed data and science and that has been his sole criteria. We call BS. We know he responds to political or legal pressure because, as you mentioned, back in mid-May, we filed our first lawsuit to get our salons reopened, the first shutdown. And on the day our final arguments were due to the court electronically, 5 p.m. on May 26, before the court took the case under submission and rule, shazam, at noon on May 26th, the governor reopened our hair and barbershop, followed 2 weeks later by nail salons. So we knew then and there, the governor responds to things other than just data and science. So we declared victory. We let the case drop because it's expensive to pursue these type of lawsuits. We had two high-profile law firms working for us then. And we thought, okay, we're done. They know we're safe. We're reopened. We're going to go back to normal, right? How wrong we were. 2 shutdowns later, 2 kicks in the crotch later, we said, okay, obviously we got to take them back to court. So long story short, we brought the same 2 law firms back to us. We filed our amended complaint a week ago last Thursday. And shazam, 2 business days later, a week ago Monday, the governor rolled back his lockdown and he reopened our salons, granted at limited capacity. But, you know, once it may be coincidence, but twice it starts to be a pattern. And we see a pattern developing.
Yeah.
But unlike that first lawsuit, Mike, we're not going away this time. We're going to continue to pursue this case so that we can obtain a judgment from a court, a high enough court, that will prevent this governor from arbitrarily, capriciously, and without justification locking down our safe salons. So we are going to continue to pursue this case, unlike the case that we did in May. We also have a little bit of a different case than we did in May. Couple reasons. One is we have a heck of a lot more data and science that has come out in support of the safety of our salons. And we've also joined with restaurants in this particular case that Mark Garagos is our lead attorney and Harmeet Dillon is second chair. So we have two very high profile attorneys and law firms. They cover, by the way, the political spectrum. Mark Garagos is a man on the left. Harmeet is a woman on the right. The PBFC is in the middle. We're nonpartisan. We stand for the professionalism of our industry, period. That's our mission. And we're going to continue to pursue our case. Now, we don't have to file a temporary restraining order compelling him to reopen our salons now, because he did it. So we're going to shift our legal focus to the legal and constitutional and factual argument. So that, again, Mike, we eventually get, and by the way, we are prepared to take this case all the way to the United States Supreme Court if necessary. And if we do that, this will not only stop or prevent Governor Newsom from locking us down unjustifiably and unconstitutionally, it'll prevent all 50 states' governors from doing this. So we may end up fighting for the entire industry nationwide, and we're prepared to do that.
So it's very clear for our viewers who don't know the law. Is the lawsuit seeking to get a court order ordering the governor to allow 100% capacity within salons? Because we know it's only at 25 right now. Or is it to say, hey, you can never shut us down. You can never shut us down again, but the public health department can restrict how many people are in the salon? Just, can you share with our viewers?
The short answer is we are cutting off the head of the snake entirely. We are saying that these orders are unjustifiable and unconstitutional in any of their forms, whether they're with limitations or not. But of course, Mike, as an attorney, when you go before a magistrate, the judge ends up making a decision. And so we don't know what this judge will say. He may split the baby and say, okay, you can't lock them down without justifiable data and science, but you can make some limitations. I don't know. That's not what we are arguing for. We are saying two things. He was unjustified in locking us down because he never had the data that showed that we are high risk for spread. And two, the converse of that, we are in fact safe. We are state licensed professionals with hundreds of hours of formal education and training in cross-contamination and disinfection protocols. Our license is based on protecting our clientele. Unlike the so-called essential businesses that have never been shut down once, the big box stores, the corporate retail stores, Hollywood film studios. These folks have political power, and therefore they were deemed essential. And yet you compare almost any industry sector save healthcare, and I'm telling you, we're safer than every one of them. And that's really the other purpose of this lawsuit, is to garner media attention. And when I and our members get that media attention, of course, we're arguing that the governor unjustifiably shut us down. And we litigated in the court of public opinion, our lawsuit. But just as importantly, we have to convince our clients that we're safe. Because even after we win these cases and we're allowed to reopen, we're seeing less and less clients coming in.
Yeah.
And they're coming in less frequently because some of them, they pick up the message. Every time there's a spike in COVID, our industry gets shut down. So they assume there must be a connection between salons and the spread of COVID. So really, we're having to litigate this both in court and in the court of public opinion so that we can truly save our salons from utter economic ruination.
Listening in the conversation, I realized that, Mike, I don't know, or you guys don't know, there was a Vid Salon magazine. And when they started, it was with actually Cheetah. That's how I met him. That was from Nails Magazine. They came out with their own version for the Vietnamese community, and I was one of the member on the Nail Council. I'm talking about this over about over 10 years ago, Mike. And I know as a being on that council, I feel good. I feel very proud. But there was not many people like myself back then, into education. I was on there, but to be honest with you, really nothing really happened. There was really no meeting and so forth. So it kind of questioned, the effectiveness of the council. I don't know. Maybe hopefully Jim's council, Nell council, might be a little bit different. But it made me kind of think about, why did I left? And I think one of the reasons why I left was that on one of the advertisements in the magazine, they had a page about discount nail salon, and apparently they went around and took all the picture of the Vietnamese nail salon, and they posted on there. And I think I got offended or something, and I left because of that. But anyway, I do believe that it is important, to have different people on the panel, especially with the Vietnamese. Now that made me think about what Fred was discussing about how difficult it is to get the Vietnamese involved. And Jim, you brought up such a good point about our ass is always working, folks, all right? You see us working 6 in the morning until, midnight, okay? And I don't want to use that as an excuse, okay, folks, okay? Because if there was nobody like Fred and the association that he support, we might be sitting our ass still at home, not open with 25%, folks, okay? So my point basically is that, we need to voice up, okay? Now, maybe the first generation is like, what Mike and Mr. PhD mentioned, is a little bit kind of like, shy about it, and I can understand. Maybe coming from a background of, the so-called, communist rule, that might have an impact on, keeping your mouth shut. But I do see the second generation, and I do hope that the second generation is going to be more active in regards to, how we can help to elevate the nail industry, folks. I'm like one of those guys in between of the old and the young, and been carrying on this flag for the last 30 years, folks. So definitely we can use the support, okay? And one of the ways to use support, of course, folks, is to share, to support each other. You know that Jeff, I just call Fred Jeff. Fred gets on here and out of his time gets on here to give us good information, folks. That tells me that he wants to share the information. So, folks, without people, again, like I said, with the association that he support, we could be in a lot of worse situation than we are right now, okay? So just really think about that, okay, folks? We have to start standing up and speaking up and fight for what is right, okay? And thank you, Fred. Just want to tell you that. Now, let me see what else do I see here. Get the money, folks. Fred said get the money. Okay, now I'm just 3 qualification. I'm gonna have to check my my paper now, Fred. Thank you so much. I'm serious. And 98% get 100%, folks.
Yeah.
Duh. Okay. Now, if you don't understand English, you Vietnamese speaking people, I'm pretty sure you understand that 99% of the people get approved and they get 100% of the loan, and it's forgivable. Okay, all right, then you know what? I think I'm done. Let me see what else. Just one last thing. Jim, you've been cleaning so much stuff. Avery, you've been cleaning so much. Could you come clean up my place too, okay? All right, I need some cleaning. All right, I'm almost done, guys. Let me see what else. On that note, folks, make sure you follow us and you share our channel and this segment, okay? Because we are providing good information for you, okay? All right. On that note, folks, have a safe evening and peace out.